It began with silence, not the silence of peace, but the calm before history changed. Across the front lines of Eastern Europe, sensors blinked awake. Russian forces prepared for another advance, confident that Ukraine was on the defensive. But that confidence was about to shatter. What followed would rewrite the story of this war. Hello everyone, welcome back to the Frontline Report. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe, because what you're about to see is how Ukraine turned the tide and took the upper hand in a war once thought unwinnable. As the night fell, Ukrainian drone units were already in motion. Hundreds of UAV, crafted in hidden workshops, launched in synchronized waves across the border. The world's most advanced defense systems watched helplessly as swarms of drones slipped through radar shadows. Their target? Critical Russian command bases, ammunition hubs, and fuel reserves stretching deep behind enemy lines. From the outside, the exterior of this operation was a spectacle of precision. Dozens of explosions erupted almost simultaneously across Russian territories. The skies over Belgorod, Bryansk, and Kursk lit up like a burning constellation. Witnesses described it as a metal storm, a sudden surge of light, sound, and fire tearing through fortified bunkers. Every explosion seemed to echo a message. Ukraine was no longer defending, Ukraine was advancing. Inside Ukraine's nerve centers, the interior of this counteroffensive looked nothing like chaos. Engineers and commanders watched the live feeds, eyes fixed on digital maps glowing in dark rooms. Real-time telemetry streamed across giant screens, showing drones switching targets, evading counterfire, and striking with surgical precision. Each movement felt deliberate, each hit calculated. It was a symphony of coordination, man, machine, and strategy working as one. The performance of Ukraine's new generation drones stunned military experts. Powered by hybrid engines and AI-based navigation, they operated independently even when communication was jammed. These drones didn't just fly, they thought. They adapted mid-air, dodged missiles, and changed altitude to escape radar locks. Russia's billion-dollar defense systems fired hundreds of rockets in desperation, but most hit empty skies. Every drone carried a payload optimized for maximum disruption, shaped charges for bunkers, thermobaric warheads for fuel storage, and EMP bursts for radar destruction. Within hours, the Russian front line began to crumble. Tanks halted, supply convoys froze, and the constant chatter on Russian military radios went eerily quiet. The once unstoppable war machine was breaking down. Safety was never an afterthought in Ukraine's new warfare model. The drones were equipped with encrypted circuits and auto-destruct protocols. If intercepted, they disassembled mid-air, leaving no data behind. The communication systems used frequency-hopping technology that confused Russian interceptors. Even ground troops used shielded helmets and AI-guided defense networks to predict incoming threats. Ukraine had not only modernized its weapons, it had made its soldiers safer, smarter, and faster. What made this operation uniquely powerful were its strategic innovations, the unique selling points that defined Ukraine's rise. First was intelligence fusion. Every drone, tank, and soldier shared data instantly through a unified war cloud. This digital backbone allowed Ukraine to predict Russian troop movements before they happened. Second, the element of deception. Fake radio signals and decoy drone swarms distracted Russian defenses, while the real strike force moved unseen. Third, the use of terrain and timing. Ukraine's forces launched at night, during heavy snow and electronic interference, turning nature itself into a weapon. The cost of this transformation was surprisingly low compared to the results. Each drone cost less than a single Russian cruise missile, yet destroyed assets worth millions. It was the perfect demonstration of asymmetric warfare, where creativity beats capital and intelligence beats intimidation. Western analysts called it the smartest war move of the decade. By dawn, Russia's silence told the world everything. Satellite imagery revealed dozens of smoking craters and crippled infrastructure. The strikes had wiped out communication lines and paralyzed logistics for nearly 2 days. In Moscow, confusion reigned. Commanders couldn't reach field officers, fuel deliveries stalled, airbases went dark. The same army that once pushed forward with brute strength now struggled to move at all. Across Ukraine, morale surged like never before. Soldiers in trenches who had fought for survival for months now felt the tide turning. They weren't retreating anymore, they were advancing. Civilians gathered around screens, watching drone footage of strikes hitting enemy bases. For a nation that had endured so much loss, this was the moment of resurgence, the proof that resilience could transform into dominance. In the aftermath, Russia's media scrambled to hide the truth. Officials claimed minor fires, technical issues, even bad weather. But independent footage showed otherwise massive fireballs visible from miles away, storage facilities consumed in towering flames, and endless convoys retreating from border zones. The world was watching, and no amount of denial could hide the fact. The balance of power had shifted. Ukraine had done the impossible, turned defense into offense, fear into firepower. It was no longer about holding ground, it was about taking back what was lost. The war had turned not with nuclear threats or grand invasions, but with intelligence, unity, and precision. As experts analyzed the events, they realized this was more than a battle, it was a revolution in modern warfare. Ukraine had introduced a new era where AI-guided weapons, data synchronization, and human courage worked together to outmaneuver larger armies. The message to the world was clear: the future of war isn't about who has more, it's about who thinks smarter. By the end of that week, Russia's supply lines were fractured, its morale shaken, and its command structures forced into panic. For the first time, the global narrative shifted. The aggressor was on the defensive, the invader was retreating, the empire of intimidation had met its match. In Kiev, President Zelensky addressed his nation. His words were calm but powerful. We fight not for victory alone, but for our right to exist, to decide our future, and to live free. His image, calm yet determined, became a symbol of this turning point, a man leading a nation that refused to bow. Putin's silence said more than any speech. The intelligence briefings delivered to the Kremlin that night confirmed what he had long feared. Ukraine had become not just a resilient opponent, but a formidable power. As the smoke cleared and satellites captured the blackened ruins of once mighty bases, the war had indeed turned, and this time it was irreversible. Ukraine had the upper hand, and the world knew it. This wasn't the end, but the beginning of a new chapter where innovation, unity, and determination redefined what power truly means. And in that silence that followed the explosions, one truth echoed across the battlefields: the future belongs to those who adapt.